Hi, my name is Sam Sutker. I work as a peer and family support specialist with the Smoky Mountain LME MCO in the Asheville, North Carolina area. And I'm also a person in long-term recovery from a number of undiagnosed mental health challenges. Beginning as a very young child, I had suicidal feelings and urges. I had anxiety, social anxiety, and some depression, and occasionally panic attacks. I'm also a person who is a ally and supporter of other people like myself who have had or have mental health and or substance use challenges and other things that people are challenged by in life. And in addition to that, I am blessed to be married to my beautiful wife Sandy for 37 years. And when we got married, Sandy had two beautiful children who were 8 and 6 years old, Julie and Shane, who are now 45 and 43. And because of my connection with these beautiful young beings, my children, we now have 5 grandchildren and 3 great-grandkids. And these are all parts of the blessings of my life that have come along with recovery. Um, my experience was I never had a diagnosis. People didn't know that I was going through these challenges. I never said it to anyone. So it was just experiences that I, probably like many people in life, just dealt with on my own in my own best way. I wasn't skilled at that time in knowing how to ask for help. I was very unaware of myself, not in touch with my feelings, and so that kind of created a perfect storm for me to live with these challenges without seeking help. And my recovery came about very informally after a sincere suicide attempt after I graduated from college. I had a very informal recovery, and I won't go into the details of all that now, but I want to acknowledge how incredible it is that the WRAP is now available, the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, that Mary Ellen Copeland, I want to give a shout out to Mary Ellen and to the other folks and to the Copeland Center, and to the people who joined Mary Ellen and spent quite a while, days together, exploring how do people get well and sharing their own experiences with each other and coming up with the wisdom to create a plan that's very practical and that is tailored for each person to decide for themselves what they need, what works for them, what doesn't work. And that now this Wellness Recovery Action Plan is actually being used all over the world, translated into many different languages, being used for everything from mental health or substance challenges. People with diabetes are using it. People who are feeling well are using it to learn how to do even better in life. So it's a very adaptable, very amazing, simple document that people can learn how to put together with the help of facilitators and supporters. And it also includes a crisis plan. So what I want to do is share with you the parts of WRAP that will eventually include the crisis part. But we'll start off with the 5 basic principles of WRAP. And the very first one is hope. And hope is the pillar upon which the Wellness Recovery Action Plan is built. At least that's how I experience it. And hope is not pie in the sky. It's based on real things. People every day around the world are recovering from severe and persistent mental health illnesses and challenges, from substance use challenges, from health issues. So the fact that recovery is happening in a dynamic way is reason for hope. And another part for me is I feel that we're part of this incredible thing called humanity. And humanity has incredible resilience built into it, to me, as a blessing from our Creator. And the signs of that for me are that as humanity throughout time has existed, there have been plagues, there have been droughts, there have been famines, there have been wars, there have been pestilence, there have been holocausts, things way beyond most of our imaginations that human beings, like ourselves, have gone through individually and collectively, and not only survived, but then gone way beyond surviving and continuing to be creative and to come up with solutions and answers for so many of the challenges that the world and individuals face. So that's a very big piece of hope for me. But Mary Ellen Copeland encourages us all to think outside of the box. So another part of hope is rainbows, it's pets, it's children, it's laughter, it's humor and joy, has an unlimited number of expressions. The next part of the Wellness Recovery Action Plan principle is personal responsibility. And this means we get to encourage each other to not live our lives as a victim, to be willing to take responsibility for our lives, and not blame others for things that have happened, even if others had complicity in that. Because if we continue to live that way, we may never get around to the sincere work of taking care of ourselves and enhancing and letting our lives become the life that we came here to live and not the life we might have been living for some time. So personal responsibility is the next key principle of RAP. And the third principle of RAP is self-education. And this means learning about who we are, why we're here, what we can do. Self-education can be formal education, it can be schooling, college. It can also be informal, it can be learning from others, learning from our own mistakes that we've made. This really, again, this is a good one just to think outside the box. Don't put a little boundary around, or a big boundary around this. Let it be whatever it is that's useful to us, that we get to discriminate. We can learn from all the media resources that are available through the internet, using it in a good way for ourselves. So again, allowing our self-education to be a very wide open range of possibilities that's continuous and that enhances our well-being and our connection to ourselves and to our life. And then the next principle of RAP is self-advocacy. And self-advocacy, you can say it starts off with us speaking up for ourselves to ourselves. So standing up to ourselves sometimes is a very important part of self-advocacy. And then it's learning how to say what it is we feel we need and want in a way that others will be encouraged to be supportive of that, where we're being sincere and direct, but we're not being caustic, we're not being overly aggressive. We're learning through role play, where we can actually practice these skills, and it is skills to learn to be a good self-advocate. At some point we may actually become so good at being a self-advocate that we actually want to become an advocate for others, as that's helpful, and even a systems advocate to help bring about change, as that can have great ramifications for so many. All those things are possible, and just beginning to learn how to speak up for ourselves to ourselves is a good way to begin that for those who feel that that would be helpful. And the last principle of RAP is support. And support, again, is all the different things that help us in our life to feel better and better, to be more connected to ourselves and to others. So for some of us, we may have experienced a time in our life where we were isolating ourselves, we were not feeling well, we didn't feel comfortable being around other people. And so for us to begin practicing becoming comfortable being with others and learning how to share and express ourselves in a way that is true for us and also is allowing others to be who they are. So supporters can be, there are 12-step groups that people use for support, but people use things like garden clubs and book clubs. So really, again, outside the box, whatever it is that can be enhancing to our lives, where we can be a part of a group of support, where we can receive support from individuals as needed, doctors, physicians, mental health workers, whatever that is, from friends, from allies. For some, you could say from a higher power, from spiritual source. Whatever it is that helps us, that feels good, is something we should consider. So now we begin getting into the RAP plan. And the very first part of the RAP plan is coming up with what we call wellness tools. And these are things that we may have done in the past or we've learned that really make a difference in how we feel in our life. And each one of us is going to be creating our RAP plan that will be appropriate for us. No two RAP plans are necessarily the same. We can borrow from others if we need to or want to, because others have good ideas we may not have thought of. But we get to create the plan that is our plan, tailored for us. So for me, there are a lot of different things that are part of my wellness plan. Starting my day with a simple prayer before I leave the bed, getting a hot shower every day. My one very strong cup of coffee is really good for me. The kind of exercise that I like, I do something called the Secrets of Natural Walking that I've just learned about in the last couple of years. It's been very helpful to me, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. I enjoy food. I like to cook. Having the kind of foods around that I will enjoy putting together for meals, when my wife and I are doing that together, that's part of my wellness. So these are simple and attainable things that help me to feel connected, including things like taking walks with my wife or friends out in nature, including gardening, even washing dishes, gratitude prayer, and forgiveness, all important for me. And then there's a wonderful idea that's part of RAP that's called the Wellness Toolbox, where we actually get to design and create lists of the things. Sorry, my apology. The next one is what we call the Daily Maintenance Plan. We've already come up with our wellness tools. But the Daily Maintenance Plan will actually be tapping into the wellness tools. And again, we'll be deciding which tools we need to use every day to maintain the wellness that we want in our lives. And for me, again, hygiene, shower, brushing my teeth, all those things help me feel good. Washing dishes on a daily basis, prayer, meditation, practicing forgiveness, exercise, the walking that I mentioned before. Each of these things is an important part of my daily maintenance, including being what I call lighthearted and open-hearted and open-minded. All those things enhance what works for me to maintain my wellness. The next part of the RAP plan is what is known as triggers. And these are described as being external events or circumstances that can create discomfort with us. And for me, there's a couple that come to mind very immediately. One would be financial stress, and the other, excessive drama, either from myself or from others. And with the financial stress, what we do with the triggers is we don't just acknowledge that we have triggers, we come up with an action plan. This is the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. So the action plan for me for my triggers, if it's the financial part, is I like to pay attention to what I'm doing with my money. I like to make sure that I've got more coming in than is going out. I like to pay my bills on time, and I like to feel both free with my money but not extravagant. In the past, I used to be more anxious and uptight. Now I find that I feel freer. And I think part of it comes from just realizing that I'm applying a plan to what I'm doing with what could be a trigger and stressor. And then with the trigger that could be a trigger for me of what I call drama, excessive drama. If it's drama for myself, if I'm starting to come up with what I call overly dramatic thinking or emotions, I invite myself to just take a chill pill. And that could include taking some deep breaths, um, relaxing, letting go, doing some exercise, smiling. And if I'm around others that are, being what I consider overly dramatic, and people have the right to do that, but I also have the right to take care of myself. What I might do is try to steer the conversation in just a slightly different direction without being manipulative. And if that doesn't work, then I have the right to excuse myself if I feel like I need to, and allow others to be where they want to be if they want to. But possibly, we can all move on together, and I always enjoy that. So the next part of RAP is what we call early warning signs. And these are signs of change that we may need to take further action on, internal feelings that are starting to create some discomfort in us. So for me, that would be if I'm not feeling joy, if I'm feeling overly anxious or irritated, if I'm starting to feel tension and fear. Those are some of the early warning signs for me. And for me, a real basic action plan is asking for help, communicating to others. It could be co-workers, it could be friends, it could be my wife, family members. Just let folks know where I am so that I don't start that process of isolating. And then breathing, exercising, smiling. Smiling is a really simple but very dynamic tool for me because it allows me to feel connected and to feel my spiritual heart working. And so I'll rely on that as much as I do anything in my toolbox. And then to check in with my daily maintenance plan to make sure that I'm utilizing the things that I decided I knew would be helpful to me on a daily basis. Sometimes things, even though we may have attempted to deal with them, start breaking down or start getting worse. And that's when, in spite of our best efforts, I'm feeling worse, and it's a time when it's necessary to take immediate actions to prevent a crisis from taking place. And so for me, the signs that things are breaking down or getting worse is if I'm having suicidal thoughts or feelings or ideation, if I'm not getting out of bed, if I'm feeling depressed. And so once again, what we do is we go to the action steps that we plan when we're feeling well and creating our RAP plan. And for me, again, seeking counseling would be important. Asking for help again to any of the folks in my life that I have recognized are there, willing and able to support me when I need help. And that includes, for me, prayer and meditation, asking from the source of love in my life, the Creator, for help, and acknowledging that I'm needing help there. Letting my supervisor know that I'm not doing well, and just being honest about that. And then again, checking into my daily maintenance plan and making sure that I am using that plan in all the ways that I recognize I needed to at that time when I put it together. The last part of the RAP plan has just been completed. At this stage, if things haven't been taken care of, now I'm into the crisis phase. And we want to create the crisis plan when we're feeling well. We want to do that with our supporters, and we want to make a plan that will let people know that we're wanting to rely on them to be supporters and getting their okay on that, and that we'll be able to use this plan so that we can get well as soon as possible. The first part of the crisis plan is what I'm like when I'm well. Again, for me, I'm smiling, I'm relaxed, I'm lighthearted, I'm open-minded and open-hearted, I'm responsible and reliable. Then I want to list the signs that my supporters need to take over. So again, if I'm neglecting personal hygiene, if I'm threatening or acting suicidal, that's a sign that my supporters need to take over. And Mary Ellen Copeland suggested we should have at least 5 supporters, and that could be friends, family, it could be healthcare workers. And we want to discuss this with our supporters ahead of time, letting them know that we're asking them if they're willing to be a part of this plan, to be there to help us if we need help. And we also may want to make a list of people that we do not want to be involved in our crisis plan. These might be people that we just recognize would not be serving us well during that time, and that's our right to do that. The next thing we want to do is we want to list the doctors, physician, healthcare people, their names, their phone numbers. These are people we want to be involved in a crisis if we had it. We'd want to list all the medications that we're currently taking, the dosages, how often we take them, what we're using them for. And we'd also want to make a list of medications that we'd be willing to try if necessary, and the reasons we'd want to try those, and also the list of medications we do not want to use and the reasons we wouldn't want those being used for us. And then we'd want to list treatments that we know might make us feel better. For me, it might be acupuncture, homeopathy, relaxation exercises, and things that I wouldn't want to be used, such as I would not want shock treatment used. That would be something that I'd want to be very clear about. Some of us might want to create what's called a home or respite plan, where we plan to experience our crisis in our own home, relying on our support folks to be there with us for that. Or we might want to go, if there's an available respite center, we might want to plan for that. We might want to do some research to find out what is available and what might be involved in having access to that. And then we also want to list other treatment facilities that may be necessary to be used. We might want to do some research to find out from others what ones may have been good for them. We may have had some experience where we know what we want, and we want to list that. And then we'll also want to list treatment centers or facilities that we do not want and the reasons we don't want them, if we choose to share that. And then we want to make a list of things that would be helpful to us. People who, for me, who are encouraging, optimistic, sincere, trustworthy, calm, taking care of certain tasks, people who are responsible, and people who could offer me peer counseling, people who might be able to help prepare, make sure I get good food, and folks who will listen to me. There are a few other things that I might want people to do, and might be take care of children or pets. And then things that don't help. I wouldn't want people around me who are fighting about my care, people who are giving me unsolicited opinions or advice, or who are judgmental. And then the very last part of the crisis plan is known as it's not known as, it's the part that where we decide how others would be able to know when we no longer need the crisis plan in place. And for me, it's I'm now sleeping well, I'm eating well, I'm taking care of my personal hygiene, I'm no longer having suicidal thoughts or ideation, and I'm smiling and I'm able to laugh. These are all indications to others that I'm doing well. And I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to make this video and for the possibility of being able to become a Wellness Recovery Action Plan Advanced Training Facilitator. Thank you. God bless.